Hey, welcome to our shop just outside Kennesaw here in North Georgia. My name's Larry. Today's project, we've all been waiting for it. See if we can restore this table. I'll bring you right in and show you what we're up against. This is a mid-century table. The owner believes it may be Broyhill Brasilia. It was damaged due to long-term storage problems. Long story short, the table means a great deal to the owner. They want me to restore it. I'm happy to try. This, I'm told, is animal urine. Again, based upon the way this was stored, it is what it is. We'll see if we can get that out. And then we have lots of broken finish here, staining that looks almost like mold, and then we have some missing veneer. So the first step is to get all this finish off so we can see what exactly we're dealing with. We also know that the apron and the legs are going to have to be finished completely as well. And there's also a leaf was in pretty bad shape. Or is in pretty bad shape. This is the leaf that goes with the table, and it had begun to delaminate pretty significantly on the back side. So last night, before I brought the camera into the shop, I took and cleaned out this gap here, used some regular Titebond PVA glue, a bunch of clamps and some cauls, and tried to put this thing back together. So let me get this unclamped and let's see how we did. One of the things I found to be very helpful and very fast is to keep a roll of shipping tape here in the shop, and whenever I have a call that I have to keep from getting glue on it, I just run a strip of shipping tape on it, and it works a treat. So something that might help you. Okay, I'm very happy with the results here, and I think we've got it back together. What we're looking at here is the corner of the leaf, and this piece of veneer has pulled away, and I'm going to put my micrometer on it. Sure, you can read that, but 1/32 of an inch is the only veneer thickness that we have on this piece, and I'm going to assume that continues for the tabletop as well. That's critical information to know if we have to start sanding this piece. So we're going to save every sanding and be very, very judicious because we only have a 1/32 of an inch of actual veneer to work with. And I'm going to glue this piece down right now because the last thing I want to do is have this break off and lose it. We're going to have quite a little bit of veneer work to do on this leaf, but for right now, let's just get this this repaired so we don't have to worry about it. I'm using PVA glue, Titebond 2. I get an awful lot of questions about hide glue, and I do use hide glue on certain repairs. This is a mid-century piece from the 1960s. It wasn't put together with hide glue, and frankly I don't have any hide glue heated up, and there's really no reason to use it in this case. I often will use it for veneer repairs, but today I'm just going to use PVA. Okay, that tape alone would probably be fine, but let's put a clamp on it. That piece of veneer is down where it needs to be. We don't have to worry about losing it. We're just going to put this aside, and we'll get working on the other pieces. And when you use paste stripper, the idea is to have it completely covered. You don't want to paint it on. You want to kind of glob it on so it stays wet. You can see already that the paste stripper is starting to work on lifting the lacquer finish on this table.
And after letting this sit for 10 minutes or so, we can start to scrape it. And see, we're bringing up a lot of the finish. Yeah, it looks like it's all coming up. This white stuff may be grain char. But it looks like it's working.
We got quite a bit of it off with the first application. I'm going to move on to liquid stripper now. I just prefer it, and see if we can get the rest of this cleaned off.
And what I'll do is I'll dip this 3M pad in some liquid stripper and use it to scrub off any of the residual finish. And that takes the rest of it off. Okay, we've got it pretty well stripped off, so the next step is to scrub it down with lacquer thinner. This gets rid of any residual finish and strip it. I've got the table upside down on a work table, and where you see the blue tape in the front, there was some loose secondary veneer that I glued down real quick before it snapped off and I lost it. I've decided I'm going to take the legs off the table.
Okay, you're looking at the square nut that holds these legs on. That's all there is to getting them off.
There's the leg. You can see it's pretty well beat up. It can use a refinishing, and that's what it's going to get. Okay, we got the leaf and the forelegs stripped. The underside of the table's been taken care of, and the next thing we're going to do is lightly sand the tabletop and prepare it for some oxalic acid.
Hot water, nearly boiling actually. Oxalic acid. Put enough in here until it stops dissolving. I think that's going to do it. Yeah, we have just enough in there. There's just a little bit that didn't dissolve, so the solution is saturated. Apply it to the entire piece, not just the stained areas. I'm actually going to do the leaf as well. And what we do is apply it and let it dry. Rinse it off with clean, cool water, just clean water, and let it dry, and then see how we've done. Sometimes we do 2 coats. Seldom will I do 3, because I don't want to get the veneer so wet it starts to have to worry about it lifting up. And I'm starting to get an odor out of the table consistent with, you know, what we said was staining it over here, so that might be a good sign.
The oxalic's on, and I scrubbed it in over those spots. It's a rather unpleasant smell, which sort of concerns me, but let's just see what happens. It's a few hours later. As a matter of fact, the sun's going down. I wanted to get these rinsed off so they'll be dried for tomorrow. And I rinsed this off camera. I don't see a whole lot of lightening with the urine stain here. Maybe we did lighten it up a little bit here, but it's still very prominent. Lots of times, as this dries after the oxalic is on it, is when it lightens up. So we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. I also went out and bought some of this, if for nothing else, just to see if I could control the odor a little bit. And I applied a coat of that and rubbed it in with some a Scotch-Brite pad. Left it on for about 5 or 10 minutes and then rinsed it off. We'll see how we do tomorrow.
Good morning, it's the next day. We did have some significant lightening of these stains, as I showed you last night. I came in very early this morning and I applied a little bit of naphtha to the stained areas, and they look pretty good. They're still a little bit darker than I'd like, so I made the decision to apply a second coat of oxalic acid, and that's drying now. So when this dries, we'll rinse this off, let it dry again, and then that's really pretty much going to be it, I think, for our attempts to get any more of that stain out. I think we're going to have good success, but I really don't want to subject this piece to any more moisture. There is some slight undulation where the original stain is, and that was there before we started, from it being soaked in, and I'm just really concerned if we put too much water on this, we're gonna do more damage than we want to.
What do you say we rinse this off? Well, the table is still drying, but we've accomplished a tremendous amount of lightening. We had that really, really dark stain there, and then the really dark stains over here. So I think we've done as good as we can hope to do. As this finish is drying completely, I want to tackle these little veneer chips. I've learned from working on the leaf that it's really, on these small ones, because the veneer is so thin, I'm just going to fill them, and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, what I'm going to use is Mohawk's Hard Fill. It's a hard wax that you melt in. I believe it probably has some epoxy in it. It's tougher than regular wax, and it's a whole lot easier to deal with than a burn-in stick. So what we did, basically all we do is just melt the appropriate color, and I'm using the walnut color because that's the color that we're going to finish the table in. And we melt that right into the chip, and we take this piece of steel, which just really acts as a heat sink and a press, kind of cools the wax and pushes it down into the repair. And then the kit comes with this little, it almost looks like a little miniature cheese grater. And what it does is it just basically levels the fill to the rest of the table. And it's nice and smooth. And then of course you can sand this or whatever, but that takes care of that. And then when we color and finish that, this will disappear. We've given the table a chance to dry. We've enjoyed some success in getting the stains at least ameliorated a bit. As much as I'd like to jump right into starting to prepare this tabletop for finish, we have to remember that there's an underside to this, and the time to do the underside is now. So what we're going to do is flip this table over, we'll take care of the veneer repairs on the underside, and then we're going to seal the bottom in shellac. When that's all dry, we'll flip the table back up and we'll start to work on the show side. So here we go. And to try to keep this video from getting ridiculously long, let me just explain to you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around and find any place like this, and I'm going to super glue these down, or if it's a really large area like this one is becoming, I'll probably put some yellow carpenter's glue down on it. And at places like this are going to either get a veneer patch or they're going to get filled. But what the whole idea of this is that when I'm done, all of this substrate here is going to be down and it's going to be repaired. Okay, I've got all the repairs to the underside of the table done. I've got fill in there and I've got it all sanded. You probably think I'm going to need my head examined, but I think I'm going to stain it. It's a little bit light, and I just think it'll look better stained, so that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, I think that's going to look a lot better. Okay, it's the end of a very long day. I want to get a coat of shellac down on the underside of this table. Remember, the reason we're doing this is to try to help with odor, just in case this starts to off-gas odor. I don't smell anything with the table flipped upside down, which is really good news, but we're going to seal it off anyway. So I'm going to shoot some Seal Coat. Seal Coat is a shellac product made by Zinsser. It's a 2-pound cut and it's de-waxed. It just acts as a sealer, but shellac has the ability to bind with pretty much anything, and it's a really good sealer to use.
That's all there is to it. See you here in the morning.
Ready to be sealed, so let's get to it.
I'm applying by hand some Van Dyke Brown extra thick, basically extra pigmented glaze to the edges of the table to get those colored in. We're back, we're in the home stretch. The next job that we have to do is to color match the chairs, the table, and the leaf. The leaf and the table need to be the same color, and generally just a tone lighter than the chairs. The legs are no problem, I'll take care of those separately.
While we're doing the coloring, we also want to see what we can do, maybe a little glaze, a little coloring to help blend in what's left of those stains. And I guess it's time to get to work and try that right now. Now here's the chair right on top of the table, and you know the camera always misrepresents the color a little bit, but I think we're pretty close. And what we have here is the remnants of this major stain. Again, it doesn't look as bad as it does in the camera. And what I'm thinking of doing is just using some glaze to kind of pull the unnatural shapes into a cathedral shape, which is how this is grain wise. And to see if we can just kind of fool the eye a little bit. Into blending this in without darkening it up at all. And I'm just kind of picking out natural spots, you know, natural grain lines in the wood, and trying to kind of blend this darkness in so it looks like it's more natural. Yeah, that's actually starting to look okay. And what it does is it takes away the unnatural shapes, which are the abrupt lines across here and any lines that look like water splashes or whatever. So let me work on this a little bit and see what I can come up with. Not sure how that's going to show up on the camera, but I'm using raw umber, which is a browner, not quite so red as the Van Dyke brown. And like I say, I've pulled this towards this cathedral shape that's in the grain pattern. And I think it's done a really pretty good job of minimizing the transition from this straight line and this big round blob, kind of blending it in. Again, it's like, you know, if you cut your head, they can put you back together, but you might still show a scar, and some of the stuff you just can't make go away. You just try to blend it in the best you can. And I think that looks pretty good. I wish you could see it without looking through the camera lens, but that looks pretty good. So I'm going to put some Van Dyke brown glaze on this, and let's see what it looks like when I'm done. And I'm trying to blend the Van Dyke brown glaze kind of up to the raw umber repair that we made. I really don't want to blend the two of them in. I'm not sure how that's going to look. So we'll put a thin coat of Van Dyke brown on the table around what we just did, and then drop back and punt and see how it looks. And always you can, as the glaze starts to dry, you can light brush over to very softly blend the colors in. And then I take any excess and get rid of it like that. Okay, we've got the glaze applied. I think we've made good progress with what we were trying to accomplish. We'll know better when we top coat, and that'll be 6 or 7 hours from now, because I like to give this glaze a long time to dry. Then the leaf, this was a disaster of its own right. It was a completely different color, extremely light. We had all sorts of veneer issues. Gossamer thin veneer that when I put a patch on, I would sand through the existing. It was insanity. But we've gotten that closer to the table. It's probably going to need some toner, but again, we'll make that determination after we get the top coat on. It's several days later. We have all the color on the table, and all but the final coat of lacquer is on it. I brought one of the chairs in here. I'm happy with the color. Remember, the tabletop wants to be a little bit lighter than the chairs, which it is. Same color family. We have tones in the chairs that dead match the table. We've done, I think, as good a job as we can in concealing those dark stains. So the project is moving along nicely. Considering what we had to start with, I am very, very happy the way that came out. Let's move on to the legs. I know it must look like sausage day at the local butcher shop, but we've got those legs hung from the garage door. And we got them lacquer coated. I couldn't film it because I couldn't put the camera outside. It's raining. And I can't put the camera inside because the light through the garage door will ruin the shot. But they're done. It was fun doing them, hanging up. We'll let them dry and then we'll move on from there. Here's the entire set put back together. I think it looks wonderful. This is a treasured family piece. A very nice young couple inherited this when a family member passed away. It had sadly been stored in a very difficult situation, and it incurred a lot of damage in storage. And we understand that. We understand what happens sometimes as our loved ones become elderly. Things just get away from them. But their devotion to these pieces and their trust in us, and this is what we have to show for it, and I'm very proud of it.
So I hope you had a chance to watch both videos documenting the repairs and refinishing that we did to this table and these chairs. Very happy with the way it came out. From our shop just outside Kennesaw here in North Georgia, best regards, thanks for watching, take good care, and remember, just wood color and some shiny stuff, and this can be the result. We'll see you next video. Thank you.